code everything.
Alright guys, we're back in Free Code Camp in the responsive web design section doing applied accessibility. Let's go ahead and see what's going on. So accessibility, this section is going to be about adding additional things to our HTML and CSS logic so that we're able to basically make it better for people who have visual, auditory, mobility, or basically for people who are disabled or have special issues. We are going to allow our web page to be easier to navigate through, and this may be things such as adding audio, adding text, adding special text, adding special tags, all this sort of stuff. Let's jump right in though. It'll be much easier to understand. So what the alt tag does for your image is basically if our image fails, the alt tag will be the text alternative. So let's say our image, for whatever reason, doesn't display. When we run it right now, you'll see that we just have this broken image. However, if we add the alt tag, what's going to display instead is going to be text basically saying what that image was supposed to be. So in this case, it looks like it's karate. Wow. So we'll just put karate wow, and when we run it, you'll see now that we still get the broken tag. It's not going to fix this, but it's going to give you a kind of a description as to what it's supposed to be doing. Now you also can put an alt tag in there with no description. So, excuse me. Been doing a lot of these, so I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit. So Campercat has coded a skeleton page for a blog part of his website. He's planning to add a visual breakdown between the two articles with decorated. Add an alt tag to the image. Add an alt attribute to the image tag and set it to an empty string. Okay. So we have our image attribute here. And we're going to add an alt tag. And before we do that, let's go ahead and run our code so we can see what we're working with. So we have our broken tag. And we're going to do alt is equal to that. And we run our tests. And you'll see we can still add the alt tag. And nothing is showing up in there. It's just an empty string. So in our example here, Campercat wants a page on his site dedicated to becoming a ninja. Help him fix the headings so his markup gives semantic meaning to the content and shows proper parent-child relationships to the section. Okay. Change all the H5 tags to the proper heading level to indicate they are subsections of H2 ones. So I'm a little confused about what they're asking. That's okay. Let's see it. Let's get a hint. All the H5 tags are siblings and should be changed to the same new heading level. So let's go ahead and read through this. Okay, so it looks like they just want to change our tags from H5 to H3. I'm still a bit confused about this section, this specific section. About what it's actually asking us to do. Oops. But we changed our tags as per the instructions. So we can jump. So we have this main tag. Cool thing about the main tag is it allows us to jump straight to the Right, so as I was saying, we have this main tag, and the main tag is basically an HTML element, which will allow us to jump straight to the section that we're at, kind of where all your main sort of content goes. So if we have here, we can go ahead and put main, and notice this is header, not head, so don't get confused. And we're gonna wrap it all in our main tag like so. We run our test. Oh, excuse me. This is actually supposed to go before the footer. My mistake. Your code should have one main tag. Should be between the header and the footer. There we go. So I just put in the wrong spot there. So you basically just wanted, this is the main section. This is where all the bulk going. So you have your, basically the top of your web page, which would be like your header, your navigation. You have your footer at the bottom, but everything else in there, in the kind of the main section of the body, if you will, is where you would use the main tag. You also have the article element. So instead of, let's run this real quick. So instead of divs here, what we want to do is we want to go ahead, and because these are all articles. Articles kind of similar to divs. These are more HTML5 tags that just kind of have a slightly different purpose, but are still containers at the end of the day. And all we're doing is kind of correlating everything. These are our articles. These are article containers. That's really all you really need to know about that. There's also sections. And there's some additional things. So right here, let's read the difference before we move on. You have div, which blocks content. You have section, which blocks related content. And then you have article, which blocks independent, self-contained content. So a lot of, you just have to dive into the details a little bit, but you can kind of see how these are kind of independent articles, right? So maybe if you had a section around all your articles, and then each article. Alright, so Campercat is writing great articles about ninja training and wants to add a page for them to his site. Change the top div that currently contains the H1 to a header tag instead. So we have our top div here. And part of the reason you do this is it makes it easier to see, right? You're like, well, a header tag and a header and a div kind of do the same thing. Kind of. But what's happening here is most web pages will have a header like so. And it becomes a lot easier to see where your header is when you have a tag just called header. So similar to how we did the header, we also can do our navigation, right? And so we have nav tags for that. So instead of this div here, what we want to do is wrap our navigation here, these three LIs, in the nav tag. This makes it much easier, especially if you're working on projects, to kind of see this is the navigation. You don't have to go hunting it down. You just have to find the nav tag, or the header tag, or the footer tag, and so on and so forth. So we have our footer here, which is between a div. We don't need that as well. We're going to be using the footer tag. And notice nothing actually is going to change. But the way that we have our code organized and using the proper tags is really what's important here. All right, so we're going to use the audio element. This is something I'm not too familiar with. You have an example here where you can apply audio. You give an ID. This controls adds controls to it, and then you put what audios you want to be in there. And basically how this goes is it'll play the first one, if I remember correctly, and then the second one. Now, where do we want to put it? So we are going to pass in an audio tag. Does audio tag have opening and closing? Yes, it does. /audio. We want to give it the controls attribute so that we have... Actually, let's leave it out first so I can just kind of show you. I think it's better than me just talking about it. Then we want to have... Is it source? Yeah, source. A source tag. And then a type. This is basically what file type the audio is. And source. And we'll go ahead and do the audio/mpeg. Alright. Let's jump up, grab one of these sources real quick. We'll grab this first one, which is audio/meow.mp3. Alright, let's run this real quick. So you'll notice that nothing's actually happening here. However, what we could do is we want to add some controls, and we run it, and this controls. Oh, I added it to the source. Excuse me, you add it to the audio tag. So we're gonna add controls to our audio tag, and now we have our little playlist button here so that we could play it if we wanted. The value for the src element should match the link in the instructions exactly, and I'm fairly certain that it does. But let's go ahead and just copy this over just in case they want to have... Oh, whoops. And don't forget your closing source. Oh, we don't need a closing tag. What we do need, though, is a slash at the end here. Let's see if this fixes it. All right. Let's actually just copy and paste this in to see if this will solve our issue. Because I think we understand the concepts involved in this relatively easy. Alright, so get rid of this one. Run it. Oh, my mistake. So I see that there is a link right here that we need to pass in. I was passing in the example code, but what we need to do is pass this in. So I'm pretty sure this will do it. Nice. And now we can play, we can adjust the volume. And then we have whatever audio is going on there. Actually, I don't have audio on. So let's enjoy this real quick. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but that's how you can get your audio playing on your webpage like that. Now, I am not familiar at all with the figure tag, so we're going to slow down here for a second. The figure element, along with the fig caption, used together with these items, wrap a visual representation like an image, diagram, or chart, along with its caption. This gives a twofold accessibility boost by semantically explains the figure. For data visualizations, like charts, the caption can be used briefly to note the trends or conclusions. Let's see what we're working with here. The trends or conclusions. Alright, so Campercat is hard at work creating a stacked bar chart showing the amount of time per week to spend training in stealth combat and weapons. Help him structure his page better by changing the div tag he used to a figure tag that surrounds the caption to a fig caption. So instead of this div here, what we want to do is do our figure. So this seems to be, if I understand this correctly, what's going on is we now have certain things to deal with data visualization, which is a huge part of web development. Typically, data analytics is a giant field, so it's not too crazy to think that they're going to make a custom tag to help facilitate with that. So instead, what we want to do here is we want to add a fig caption. Now, fig caption is going to go around the comments. So instead of this paragraph tag, and you'll see this right here, this is kind of our figure, we're going to add a fig caption tag. Now let's see if anything actually adjusts this. I don't think too much is going to change, or anything at all really. Um, but it does help us organize our code a little bit better. Now, there's the label element. Now, this is part of forms. Basically, what the label does is it makes our forms kind of flow a little bit better and be more associated. So you have kind of, instead of putting like an H1 tag, you could have your label and it'll be associated with your input or your drop down or anything like that. So Campercat expects a lot of interest in thoughtful blog posts, wants to include an email sign up form on the email label attribute that matches IDs. So we have our email. You'll see we have our labels next to it. What we want to do here, you look at the example. So we have this for statement. Basically, we have our name and we've set it right here. And all we're saying is this label is for name. Not name, excuse me, email. So we're basically associating our label with our input here. That's all that's going on. So field set allows us to wrap a bunch of things together in inputs. This is all form related stuff, which is a huge thing to get comfortable with. I work with forms on a regular basis. Now, what do they want us to do? Your code should have a field set tag around the radio button set. So we have our type here, radio. All right. So instead of this div, what we want to add is field set. And I'm going to go right here. Field set. Cool. And you should have a legend tag around text using what level ninja it is. Okay, so the legend tag, let's read up about that real quick. So the legend tag is basically like a label, except it's for the entire set. So we're working with radio buttons. So this is kind of the description, if you will, similar to a label, right? But this is for a set of data. So instead of label, we're going to put legend. And there we go. So you also notice that there's some nice styling that goes with it. Our field set groups everything with that box, with like a little box, and you can obviously customize it. And then we add a legend that instead of being inside the box is now like a part of the box, if you will. They'll really let you know, organize your code nicely and neatly. Add accessible date picker. Okay. So preferred date, submit. What we want to do here is add one input tag. So to add a date picker to here, we just need to include our input tag. We have to put the type is equal to date. And what else did they want? So we have our type, ID with the value of pick date. So we're going to give it an ID as well. Typically, all your inputs will have an ID. So pick date. And then we're going to have a name is equal to date. And let's go ahead and run that for now. And you'll see here, when we give it a type, it's going to function a little differently, right? So here's kind of our standard little date picker. But that's how you would do a date picker, which is great. Makes life easier, right? So you could also do a time or a date time picker. So let's do that. Your time tag should wrap around the text Thursday, September 13th. All right, so where's Thursday? Why can't your boy see the word Thursday? All right, so here we go. We're going to pass in the time tag. And let's just see how this looks. I haven't actually used a time tag before. /time. All right, so we have this right here. Let's see how this changes, if at all. Oh, doesn't. We are going to apply a date time attribute to this as well. So, and we're going to set this equal to Okay, it looks like they want us to put a value in here, which is 2016-09-15. And so this is some data that we can go ahead and do something with later. Is what we're coding in here, basically. We already have everything formatted the way we want it here. Cool. So make elements only visible to a screen reader by using custom CSS. Okay, so Campercat created a real cool stacked bar chart for his training page and put the data into a table for his visually impaired users. So this is going to help people who are visually impaired so that they can still use websites to the best of their ability. You can see we have some CSS to help with all this. So SR only. You can see this is stuff that you're going to have in here to kind of help out. What's basically going on is we're going to add an absolute position, meaning this isn't going to move. We're going to throw it off by 10,000 pixels, meaning you're never going to see it. The width is going to be 1 pixel. The height is going to be 1 pixel. We can leave top and overflow, meaning another CSS parameter. So we're going to add all these parameters that are now going to allow things to be more helpful. Basically, we're going to have more additional data, but you're not going to see any of it on the screen. So improve readability with high contrast text. That's kind of cool. Your code should change the text color of the body to darker gray. So darker gray is this color. So you notice how we can't see Jack Diddley. So let's go ahead and change the background color. Kind of a strange thing to throw in here. I feel like this might be in the wrong section. But now we can have a darker gray. Let's see here. Oh, they wanted... Whoopsies. I did it the wrong way. So they wanted the text to change. So there we go. Text a little more popping out. Looking good. Looking nice. So some people are colorblind. You know, they can't see red or they can't see blue or it's red or green. They can't see red or green. So instead, let's go ahead and change certain color blind properties. We'll read the statement here. Campercat is experimenting with using color for his blog, text, and background, but his current combination of greenish background color with maroon text color has a 2.5 to 1 contrast ratio. You can easily adjust using the HSL property, which we've talked about before. So basically, it sounds like the lightness values have an effect when it's talking about dealing with people who are colorblind. So instead, let's run this. What we're going to do is we're going to add this 15%, and then we want to change the lightness value for the text color. This is actually 55%, and this is 15%, and this will be much more manageable for people who are colorblind. Another way that you can kind of help facilitate that is to use colors that aren't super common with people being colorblind. So right now we're using green and like are people colorblind of yellow? I guess people are colorblind of yellow and green and all that sort of stuff. So instead of doing that, what we can do is use dark blue because it sounds like less people will be affected by that. Give links meaning by using descriptive link text. So the link text that the Campercat is using is not very descriptive without the surrounding context. Move the anchor tag so they wrap around text information about batteries instead of click here. Okay, so I think what's happening here is they're kind of showcasing you like something that's old. It used to be that they would be like, click here and go to the page, but that's kind of strange still. So people don't do that anymore. I think that's really the point of that, just kind of teaching you better design skills, I guess, at the end of the day, to make your code a little bit more accessible in terms of what's a current standard to keep things going. And you can see it's just you won't oftentimes see people say click here for more information. I think that's basically the point they're trying to get across here. So HTML offers the access key attribute. I'm not familiar with this. To specify a shortcut to activate or bring focus to an element. Okay, cool. I did this a while back in like jQuery and it was awful. Your code should have an access key attribute to the A tag with the ID of first. Alright, so we have our A tag, which is right here, first. And we're going to assign an access key. Alright, so let's assign an access key. And we're going to test this out. So access key here is G. And then access key of second is going to be C. Cool. So we're over here. Let's click here. G, C. I don't know, maybe it's not working because we're on this page here. I don't know, but that's how I understand it. Pretty cool. So tab index, what tab index does is basically it allows you, when you hit tab, to jump to certain things in certain orders, such as how we're hitting tab now. It'll jump from here to here to here, and there are default values and things like that, or it tries to do its best. But you can also specify how these things work. So Campercat created a new survey to collect information about this user. He knows fields automatically get keyboard focus, but he wants to make sure the keyboard under pause. So as it gets default, you can actually override that using tab index. So we're going to jump to our P tag here, and we're going to give it a tab index equal to 0. Again, this can be, so we just kind of set it where it's supposed to, your tab's supposed to start off at, and we're going to now jump to a tab index for the input tag. Where is our input tag? So input tag 1. Your code should add a tab index after input tag. Okay. Tab index. So this is going to be equal to 1. And this is going to be tab index equal to. And notice how we start at 1 and 2 and not 0 for the most part. Just keep that in mind. Basically, what's supposed to happen is we hit tab, it jumps to here. Notice I'm not anywhere on the page. I'll be right here. Oop. I may have messed it up. So I hit here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here, every time. Cool. So that was the accessibility section. The main things to take away from that is that you can do obviously additional things like tab index, alt tag, just cool stuff that's going to make your web page more user friendly. Also help out people who maybe are visually impaired, color impaired, and you can do stuff like that with your CSS and you know, just basic things that are kind of expected of high quality web applications, and just make your projects look more professional as well. But as always, guys, thank you for watching. If you like me, you want to support the channel, you can at patreon.com/codingtutorials360. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, Code Tech and Caffeine, where we all support each other the best that we can. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you're interested in coding bootcamp, check out devmountain.com, where housing is included in your price of tuition. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.